Hello friends, welcome to the Why Things channel. Today we're diving into a question that's on all of our minds: why do people speak different languages? Think about it, there are more than 7,000 languages in the world. One person speaks Hindi, another German, another English or Quechua. So how did such diversity come about? Is language one of humanity's greatest inventions, or is it a purely accidental process? In this video, we will explore the origins of language diversity, how geography and history shape languages, how speaking different languages affects our brains, and even why some languages are in danger of extinction. If you're ready, let's embark on this linguistic journey. 1. The origin of language. How did humanity learn to talk? Language is one of humanity's greatest superpowers. So how did this talent emerge? Scientists think that language developed about 100,000 years ago in the first populations of Homo sapiens in Africa. At that time, communication was limited to simple sounds, gestures, and perhaps a few primitive words. However, the evolution of the human brain, particularly the development of the frontal lobe, brought the ability to express more complex thoughts. This was the cornerstone of the birth of language. The formation of different languages began with the migrations of human groups. As humans moved out of Africa and spread into Asia, Europe, and Australia, geographic barriers like mountains, rivers, oceans, isolated groups. Each community developed its own style of communication. For example, the Indo-European language family derived from a proto-language about 6,000 years ago and today includes languages such as English, Hindi, and Spanish. The language is like a living being, it branches out like a tree. For example, after the collapse of the Roman Empire, the Latin language split into different regions and evolved into Romance languages such as French, Spanish, and Italian. This process is a great example of understanding how languages diversify. 2. Geography and culture, the natural laboratory of language diversity. Geography is one of the biggest drivers of language diversity. Communities living in isolated areas develop their own languages. For example, more than 800 languages are spoken in Papua New Guinea. Why? Because its mountainous geography separates villages from each other, and each village develops its own vocabulary and grammar. In contrast, communities living in vast plains or river valleys interact more easily, which leads to less diversity of languages. Culture is another huge factor in the formation of language. Each society develops words according to its environment and needs. For example, the Inuit people use dozens of words to describe different types of snow because it is critical to their survival. Some tribes in the Amazon have an incredibly rich vocabulary to describe plants and animals in the forest. Language reflects a society's worldview. For example, some languages have a weak concept of the future, which can indicate that the society is focused on living in the moment. Language is not only a means of communication, it is also a reflection of a culture. 3. Historical influences, migration, conquest, and the shaping of languages by globalization. History plays a huge role in the spread and change of languages. Great empires have enabled languages to cross borders. For example, the expansion of the British Empire in the 19th century took English from India to Australia, from Africa to North America. Today, around 20% of the world's population speaks English, making it a global lingua franca. Likewise, Islamic conquests in the 7th century spread Arabic throughout the Middle East and North Africa, giving it sacred status as the language of the Quran. But it was not only conquest, trade, and migration that shaped languages. For thousands of years, the Silk Road allowed words, phrases, and even alphabets to travel between Asia, Europe, and Africa. The Turkish word book, for example, comes from Arabic and is a legacy of the Silk Road's cultural exchange. Today, globalization and the internet are strengthening dominant languages like English. But this is a threat to smaller languages. According to UNESCO, 40% of the world's languages are threatened with extinction. When a language disappears, it is not just words that are lost, but also the history, stories, and worldview of a culture. 4. The effects of language on our brain and personality. Speaking different languages is not limited to communication, it reshapes our brains and even our personality. Multilingual people can express different sides of themselves in different languages. For example, You may feel more emotional in your first language and more logical or professional in your second language. Research shows that being multilingual offers cognitive advantages. It strengthens memory, improves problem-solving skills, and even reduces the risk of cognitive diseases such as Alzheimer's in old age. Language can even change the way we think. For example, in some Australian tribal languages, directions are given in geographical terms such as north-south instead of right-left. This makes the speaker's sense of direction incredibly sharp. They can navigate wherever they are, like a compass. Another example, some languages do not have gender pronouns, which can make speakers' view of gender roles more flexible. Language is like the software of our brain, programming how we see the world. Here is the fascinating story of language diversity. People speak different languages because geography, culture, history, and migrations have led each society to a unique way of communicating. Language is not just a tool, it is a reflection of humanity's cultural richness, the way we think, and even our brains. But this richness is under threat. Every language that disappears erases a story, a culture forever. Which languages do you speak, or is there a language you would like to learn? Share it in the comments, we will be interested to read it. If you like this video, don't forget to press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next why question. Take care and keep exploring the world through different languages.